Something shifted quietly this morning while the rest of the world continued as if nothing had changed. No loud announcement. No dramatic scene. Just a single moment, a pause at a kitchen table, a thought held longer than usual inside someone's heart. And strangely, that moment was connected to you. Before the sun fully rose, your soulmate's mother sat in silence with memories moving through her mind like soft rain against a window. She was thinking about the future, about her child. About the kind of love that truly lasts when excitement fades and life becomes real. And then, without realizing it, your name entered her thoughts in a way it never had before. Stay with this feeling for a moment, because something important is waiting for you beneath these words. There are decisions people make out of pressure, and then there are decisions made from deep intuition. This morning was different. She noticed something she could no longer ignore. The way your soulmate speaks differently lately. The softness in their voice when certain things are mentioned. The distant smile that appears without explanation. Mothers notice what others miss. They can sense emotional changes before anyone speaks them aloud. And for the first time, she stopped resisting the possibility that you may not simply be a passing chapter in her child's life. You may be becoming something permanent. But here is where the story deepens unexpectedly. Because this realization did not arrive all at once. It came through tiny moments gathered quietly over time. A sentence overheard accidentally. A late-night expression her child tried to hide. A silence that carried more meaning than words. She began connecting invisible pieces together, and suddenly the image became clear enough to touch. Don't skip this part, because what happened next carries an energy your heart has felt before, even if you could never explain it. This morning, while holding a warm cup of coffee that had already gone cold, she made a private emotional decision. She decided she no longer wanted to stand in the way of whatever destiny was unfolding between you and her child. And that thought alone changed the atmosphere around everything. You must understand, some people take years to open their hearts to someone they have never even fully met. Yet today, something inside her softened naturally. Not forced. Not sudden. Just real. As if life itself had gently whispered, "Look closer, this connection matters." Meanwhile, your soulmate has no idea how deeply this shift is beginning to affect the future ahead. They only feel that something around them is becoming lighter. Easier. Less conflicted. It is like watching storm clouds slowly separate after days of gray skies, revealing a quiet beam of sunlight nobody expected. And somewhere deep inside, you have already sensed this change too. Maybe through a strange calmness recently. Maybe through dreams that felt unusually vivid. Maybe through an emotion that arrived for no reason at all. Some connections speak before reality catches up to them. But wait, because there is another detail hidden inside this morning that makes everything even more meaningful. Before leaving the room, your soulmate's mother looked back at an old memory connected to love. And for a brief second, she saw her younger self inside the emotions her child is now experiencing. That realization touched her more deeply than she wanted to admit. Suddenly, protecting her child no longer meant controlling the future. It meant allowing love the chance to breathe honestly. And that changes everything. Because when a heart moves from fear into understanding, life begins opening doors that once felt impossible to reach. The strange distance, the emotional confusion. The hesitation hanging between timelines, all of it starts loosening quietly in ways nobody else can see yet. Stay till the end of this journey, because what unfolds next may explain why recent emotions around you have felt unusually intense. Something is preparing itself behind the scenes, slowly and carefully, like dawn arriving before anyone notices the sky changing color. And by tomorrow, this silent decision may already begin creating ripples neither of you expected. There was a moment later that same morning that almost nobody would have noticed, yet it carried the weight of an entire turning point. Your soulmate's mother stood near a window, watching the outside world move normally while her thoughts remained somewhere far away. The strange part is this: she was no longer asking herself whether you mattered. Deep inside, she had already crossed beyond that question. Now she was wondering something far more personal. What if this person is exactly what my child has been searching for all along? And the instant that thought appeared, something softened in her expression that had remained guarded for a very long time. You see, people often believe major life changes arrive loudly, but some of the biggest transformations begin in complete silence. A different tone in someone's voice. A hesitation before speaking negatively. A quiet willingness to understand instead of judge. That is how unseen doors begin opening. And today, one of those doors quietly moved for you. Your soulmate could feel it too, even without understanding why their hearts suddenly felt less heavy. They carried this invisible tension for longer than they admitted to anyone. The fear of love becoming complicated, the fear of choosing someone their soul deeply wanted while worrying about how others might respond. But something shifted after this morning. The emotional resistance around them began fading like fog disappearing under sunlight. Not instantly, not dramatically, just enough for hope to breathe again. And strangely, your energy reached them today in ways words never could. Maybe they paused longer while thinking about you. Maybe your name entered their mind unexpectedly during an ordinary moment. Maybe they smiled at something small and didn't realize you were the reason behind it. These tiny emotional echoes are never random when two hearts are quietly moving toward the same future. Don't skip this part, because there is something deeper happening beneath the surface that even your soulmate hasn't fully realized yet. Their mother began remembering all the versions of her child she had witnessed over the years, the disappointed version, the exhausted version, the emotionally distant version, and then the recent version. The one who suddenly seems more alive. More hopeful. More emotionally awake again. And for the first time, she connected that transformation to you. That realization stayed with her all day. It followed her through ordinary tasks. Through conversations. Through moments of silence. Because once someone notices genuine love changing a person for the better, it becomes impossible to completely unsee it. But here comes the part that matters most tonight. Somewhere inside herself, she stopped preparing for loss. And started preparing for possibility. That emotional shift may sound small, but it changes the atmosphere surrounding everything ahead. Some hearts block connections without realizing it. Others eventually learn to protect them. And today, she unknowingly stepped closer toward the second path. Meanwhile, your soulmate is standing in the middle of emotions they cannot fully explain. They feel pulled toward something stronger than logic now. Stronger than timing. Stronger than past fears. Yet they are still trying to move carefully because they know certain connections only arrive once in a lifetime. Stay with this feeling a little longer, because tonight carries a quiet emotional energy around your story. One where misunderstandings slowly lose power. One where hidden emotions begin surfacing naturally. One where someone who once questioned your place in the future may soon become one of the reasons that future finally starts unfolding. And before another morning arrives, a conversation may begin forming behind closed doors that changes the direction of everything from here. A strange calm settled over the evening after that decision was made, the kind of calm that appears right before life quietly rearranges itself. Your soulmate noticed it first in small ways they could not explain. Their thoughts kept drifting back to you without effort. Ordinary moments suddenly carried emotional weight. Even silence began feeling different, softer somehow. As if something heavy had finally loosened around their heart. And far away from all of this, you may have felt it too without knowing why. That sudden pull to pause and think deeply. That unexplained emotion arriving out of nowhere. That feeling that something meaningful is slowly moving closer, even if nothing visible has changed yet. Some connections begin speaking through energy long before reality catches up. Tonight is one of those moments. Because while your soulmate was trying to appear normal on the outside, their mother was privately revisiting everything she once assumed about love. She remembered how easy it is to misjudge a connection before truly understanding it. She remembered the mistakes people make when fear speaks louder than intuition. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to imagine what life could look like if this connection between you and her child was actually meant to grow. That image stayed in her mind longer than she expected. Don't skip this part, because something emotionally rare is unfolding beneath the surface now. Earlier, whenever your name or presence appeared indirectly in conversation, there was hesitation around it, uncertainty, caution. But tonight, the emotional tone changed. Not completely. Not perfectly. Just enough to create space where resistance used to live. And sometimes that single opening is all destiny needs to begin moving things forward. Your soulmate sensed this shift without hearing a single word directly. That is what makes deep emotional bonds so powerful. Hearts notice changes before minds can explain them. Suddenly, they no longer feel as alone carrying these emotions. Suddenly, the future does not seem impossible anymore. And that quiet hope returning to them is changing the way they think about you tonight. They are beginning to imagine moments they once pushed away out of fear. Future conversations. Shared mornings. Peaceful ordinary days beside someone who understands them deeply. You. But there is another layer to this story nobody fully sees yet. Their mother noticed something else today that stayed hidden until now. She realized her child speaks about you with emotional sincerity, not excitement that fades quickly, not temporary fascination, but something calmer and far more real. The kind of feeling that grows roots instead of sparks. And once a mother recognizes that difference, her heart begins protecting it instead of questioning it. Stay till the end, because the next emotional shift may happen sooner than anyone expects. There is a conversation approaching quietly in the background now. Not forced. Not planned perfectly. Just naturally approaching like rain clouds gathering before the first drop falls. And when it happens, truths that were once hidden carefully behind silence may finally begin revealing themselves. Your soulmate feels closer than ever to expressing what has remained locked inside for so long. They are tired of pretending certain emotions do not exist. Tired of carrying affection silently. Tired of acting unaffected when their heart already chose its direction long ago. Meanwhile, their mother is slowly becoming less of a wall, and more of a bridge. That change alone could alter the entire path ahead. Because sometimes the universe does not move mountains instantly. Sometimes it simply changes one heart at the perfect moment, and suddenly every locked door begins opening one after another. And before this chapter fully ends, someone is going to say something honest that can no longer be taken back. Tonight feels different for a reason, even if nobody around you can fully explain it yet. Somewhere, while the world continues rushing through ordinary routines, your soulmate is sitting with thoughts they can no longer silence. The emotions they once tried to organize neatly have begun overflowing into everything. A song reminds them of you unexpectedly. A quiet moment turns emotional without warning. Even their own future now feels incomplete unless your presence exists somewhere inside it. And what makes this even more powerful is that they are no longer the only one beginning to see it clearly. Earlier this evening, their mother noticed the way their eyes changed while speaking about certain dreams. It was subtle. Almost impossible to catch unless you were paying close attention. But mothers notice emotional truths hidden between words. She saw hope there. Real hope. The kind she had not seen in her child for longer than anyone realized. And suddenly, her heart stopped focusing on reasons to doubt, and started wondering what would happen if she fully supported this connection instead. That thought stayed with her deeply. You must understand how important this moment truly is. Sometimes people believe love is only about two souls finding each other, but often, unseen emotional barriers around them must soften too. And tonight, one of those barriers is quietly disappearing. Not through force. Not through pressure. Through understanding. Through watching someone they love slowly become happier because of another person's presence. Because no matter how protective someone may be, genuine love leaves clues impossible to ignore forever. Don't skip this next feeling. Because something emotionally beautiful is beginning to rise now. Your soulmate has started replaying memories connected to you differently tonight. The small conversations. The moments that seemed ordinary at first. The emotional comfort they feel around you without needing to explain themselves constantly. They are realizing those moments mattered far more than they admitted before. And with every realization, their heart moves closer toward honesty. Meanwhile, their mother is beginning to trust what she sees instead of what she fears. That changes the energy around everything ahead. A quiet acceptance is forming slowly in places where uncertainty once lived. And the strange thing is, this shift may soon become visible in ways neither of you expect. A different tone during a conversation. A sudden openness. A situation that once felt blocked suddenly becoming easier. These are the subtle ways life signals that emotional paths are clearing behind the scenes. Stay till the end, because the next part of this story carries a truth your heart has been waiting to hear for a very long time. Your soulmate no longer wants to keep love trapped inside cautious silence. They are reaching a point where pretending feels heavier than being vulnerable. And tonight, while everyone else believes nothing important is happening, they are quietly preparing themselves emotionally for change. Not reckless change, meaningful change. The kind that happens when someone realizes losing a real connection would hurt far more than taking a chance on it. At the same time, their mother is sitting with a realization she cannot push away anymore. She sees that your presence has brought light back into parts of her child that had grown emotionally distant from life itself. That realization touched her deeply tonight. More deeply than she expected. Because every parent secretly hopes someone gentle, genuine, and emotionally safe will enter their child's life one day. And slowly, carefully, she is beginning to wonder if that person might actually be you. But wait. Because before another sunrise fully arrives, an unexpected moment may unfold that brings hidden feelings dangerously close to the surface. And once those emotions are spoken aloud, nothing between you will ever feel quite the same again. There is a quiet tension in the air now, not the kind created by fear, but the kind that appears when something meaningful is finally close enough to touch. Your soulmate feels it tonight more strongly than ever before. They have reached that emotional place where silence no longer protects them the way it once did. In fact, silence has started becoming the heaviest thing they carry. And every time they try distracting themselves, your presence returns somehow, through memories, through feelings, through moments that seem small but leave lasting echoes inside their heart. Meanwhile, something even more unexpected is happening behind the scenes. Their mother has started imagining you differently. Not as a distant possibility. Not as an uncertain name floating around conversations. But as someone who may truly become part of her child's future. That change did not happen overnight. It came through observation, through instinct, through seeing emotional peace slowly return to someone she loves deeply. And tonight, she finally admitted something privately to herself that she had been resisting for a long time. She admitted that your presence may be exactly what her child needed. Stay with this moment carefully, because what happens emotionally from here begins changing everything beneath the surface. Earlier, your soulmate almost said something important out loud, something honest they quickly held back at the last second. But the emotion behind it was real. Strong enough to shake them internally afterward. They are beginning to realize that holding back love does not make feelings disappear. It only makes the heart louder in quiet moments. And tonight, their heart is louder than ever. They keep wondering how you would react if you truly knew how deeply they feel connected to you. They wonder whether you sense this invisible pull too. Whether you notice the emotional thread constantly leading them back in your direction no matter how far they try wandering mentally. Because the truth is becoming impossible for them to ignore now. You are no longer just a thought crossing their mind occasionally. You have become part of the emotional future they secretly return to when imagining happiness honestly. Don't skip this next part, because something emotionally rare is unfolding with perfect timing. Their mother noticed tonight that her child speaks about the future differently lately. There is less emptiness in their voice now. Less uncertainty. More warmth. More life. And parents remember those changes forever because they know how painful it is watching someone they love slowly lose hope over time. Seeing that hope return awakened something protective yet gentle inside her. She no longer wants to stand against what could heal her child emotionally. Instead, she is slowly beginning to trust it. And that emotional trust may soon create opportunities neither of you expected before. A path once blocked may suddenly open naturally. A conversation once delayed may finally happen. A truth kept hidden too long may finally rise to the surface. Your soulmate can feel this momentum building around them even if they cannot explain why. They feel closer than ever to crossing the emotional distance between you. Closer to honesty. Closer to vulnerability. Closer to choosing love openly instead of quietly carrying it alone. And tonight, while the world sleeps unaware, they are replaying one specific thought repeatedly inside their mind. What if this is the person I was never supposed to lose? That question changed something inside them permanently. Because once the heart starts fearing the loss of someone deeply meaningful, it also begins finding courage it never had before. And somewhere nearby, their mother is beginning to realize the same thing in her own way. She sees now that some people enter our lives not to create chaos, but to bring someone we love back to themselves again. You may not see the full picture yet, but something important is already moving toward you quietly. Something heartfelt. Something honest. Something that could finally turn unspoken emotions into something real enough to hold on to.